Hey everybody, Tim here. Today's review of Doctor Who, story number 22, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. God, this episode was really difficult for me to get through. Now, there was a lot of stuff working against me to do this one, which I feel bad about, because a lot of people seem to really like this one. Even the actor that plays Steve has said this was like his favorite story that he did. But I couldn't get into it. I just didn't like it. For starters, this episode, or the storyline, is 4 episodes long, and all 4 of them are missing. For those who have seen my other reviews, you kind of already know that when all I have is the audio, it's really difficult to feel engaged. This story takes place in Paris, France, 1572. I am not a history buff. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm super ignorant when it comes to stuff like that. So not only is it in the past, but it is like a different country. So like I've never even heard of the Massacre of St. Bartholomew. So already I was like at a complete disadvantage. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Thanks to IMDb, thanks to Wikipedia, thanks to Google, I kind of did some research and was looking up a lot of this, and it made it more interesting. But the overall episode, I still couldn't really get into, where it's basically the Protestants and the Catholics are fighting. And then, like, as soon as Stephen and the doctor show up, they get separated because the doctor has to go find Preslin, I think his name was. And, like, that was kind of interesting, where he's talking to Preslin about, like, germs and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, I want to see more of that, but we don't. Stephen meets Nicholas Muss, or again, never heard of this guy. A character named Anne hears about how the guards are going to kill the Protestants, and she like freaks out. The abbot shows up in town, but it's actually the doctor in disguise, which super confused me. And it turns out the real abbot was actually killed. And then, like, overall, like, the episode, like, it's all about them trying to find people, and they can't do it, and, like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't get into it, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, because I didn't have that visual. By the time we get to the end of the story, like, everything seems to have mellowed out, and then the doctor's like, what's the date? And Anne's like, oh, it's 1572 on this day, and blah, blah, blah. And the doctor's like, you need to go home, and we need to leave. And so Anne leaves, and Steve's like, oh, what's going on? And the doctor's like, no talking, let's go. And they leave, and it turns out that this is when the massacre happened, and the Catholics killed all of the Protestants. And it's like, that could have also been super intense, but it's all like off camera and stuff like that. It's like just pictures. So I was like, oh, what's happening? Steve is like really like disgusted and upset that the doctor made them leave without Anne, and he basically can't even forgive the doctor. So the TARDIS materializes in, I think it was the present, which would have been like 1967, 68. And Steve's like, screw this, I'm out, and leaves. And the doctor's just kind of sitting there and is like, wow, this is sad. Like, everybody that I've been with, like Susan and Ian and Barbara, like, everybody has, like, just left me. And then this woman walks into the TARDIS, and the doctor's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm looking for a phone. And then Steve runs in and is like, we got to get out of here. There's a bunch of cops coming. And so the doctor takes off, and Steve's like, you just kidnapped this woman. Why didn't you push her out first? And the doctor's like, man, she kind of looks like Susan. And Steve's like, I never met your granddaughter, so I don't know what that means. And the doctor's like, well, it's time for a new journey. And then that's the end of the story. And I was like, what the fuck is even happening at this point? Like, I was super confused, and I feel like they didn't really know it either. For those who have seen this episode and have more knowledge on history than I do, what did you think? Was it accurate? Was it fun? Was it interesting? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. We don't really get to meet Dodo very much in this one, but in the next story, we really get to meet her, which is great because all of those are intact. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for The Ark.